Here are the top stories for today, June 2nd, 2020. Presidential spokesperson Roque said the now lifted ECQ worked in containing COVID-19 infection. The Department of the Interior and Local Government said the government's contact tracing capability has now improved to 96%. Solicitor General Jose Calida said he is not at loggerheads with Congress regarding the controversial franchise renewal issue of ABS-CBN. And Manila's very first vertical housing project will soon rise in Tondo. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Presidential spokesperson Roque said the lifting of ECQ in Metro Manila worked in containing COVID-19 infection.
Nagsimula tayo noong, hindi ko babasa yung araw na yon, noong April, napakataas po ng positivity rate, no? 13.4%. April 12, 13.4%. At sa ngayon po, as of May 24, ay nasa 6.5% na po tayo. So, ibig sabihin, talagang gumana po ang ating ECQ.
Meanwhile, National Action Plan on COVID-19 Chief Implementer Carlito Galvez Jr. said it was not accurate to label relaxed quarantine protocols as matira matibay or survival of the fittest, and that only 20% of usual shoppers are visiting establishments as part of guidelines to stay indoors.
Hindi naman siguro tama yung matira matibay dahil kasi talagang tinitingnan namin, pati nga kami nila DTI, umiikot kami ng mga nila NCRPO. Tutuwa nga kami kasi yung mga LGU natin sa Metro Manila at saka dito yung mga natin, yung mga business sector, mas mataas pa ang kanilang awareness talaga na even yung stricter pa sa IATF ang pinapatupad nila.
Interior Secretary Eduardo Año said localized lockdown will be implemented in barangays with high risk of COVID-19 infection or those that recorded more than 2 cases in 1 week. Malacanang says everyone is allowed to go out under MGCQ, but all vehicles in GCQ areas must follow the protocols or face penalty. Marita Muahe will tell us more about these protocols.
Malacanang on Monday said all residents living in areas under Modified General Community Quarantine or MGCQ will be allowed to leave their homes as long as they observe minimum health standards. Presidential spokesperson Roque said the IATF EID allows everyone to leave their homes provided they wear face masks and practice physical distancing among other health and safety protocols.
Sa modified ECQ po, 100% po pwede, pero siyempre po, ingat pa rin. Yung nga palang mga seniors, baka magreklamo na naman, no? Yung same rule po, nandyan pa rin. Pwede kayong lumabas kung meron po kayong kinakailang bilihin na indispensable at kung kayo po ay nagtatrabaho.
Citing protocols by the Joint Task Force COVID Shield, Roque said a travel authority is not required for authorized person outside residence. All they have to do is bring their company ID and certificate of employment. Travel authority is not required for medical and family emergencies and travels within the province or within Metro Manila, but it is required for traveling to another province. Meanwhile, stricter safety protocols are imposed on public utility vehicles under GCQ. In a laging handa online briefing on Monday, LTO Chief of Operations Lawyer Mercy Jane Paras Leynes said private and government vehicles are not exempted from protocols that mitigate the transmission of COVID-19.
Dun po sa mga hindi tutupad dun sa ating sanitary measures, katulad ng pagsuot ng face mask at gloves at yung iba pang mga sanitary protocols na nakalista doon sa ating memorandum circular, matcha-charge po sila ng reckless driving under our existing schedule of fines and penalties. Meron din po violation of physical distancing measures. Yun pong mga lumalabag dun sa limitation on the passenger capacity kasi sa for hire po ngayon, 50% lang po yung allowed. And even dun sa private po, 50% capacity rin lang po ang allowed. Yun din po ang mga sasakyan, yung mga public utility vehicles na dapat ay kumuha ng special permit to operate. Pag hindi sila nakakuha nun at sila ay nahuli, meron din sila karampatang fine na i-impose.
For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muahe.
Malacanang says Metro Manila and other areas could again be placed under enhanced community quarantine if the public fails to observe physical distancing and health standards. This as traffic jams were reported in some areas 2 days after NCR transitioned to modified enhanced community quarantine. Meanwhile, MMDA General Manager Jojo Garcia said malls should remain closed if management fails to implement physical distancing and safety measures. UN Special Rapporteur Agnes Callamard claims that governments, including the Philippines, are supposedly using the COVID-19 health crisis as an excuse to implement excessive force on its citizens. Presidential spokesperson Roque quickly rebutted her statement, saying the use of force on the citizenry is not prohibited by the state as long as it is necessary and proportional. At a recent webinar hosted by Ecumenical Voice for Human Rights and Peace in the Philippines, Callamard expressed fears that the additional powers given to authorities in countries that implemented lockdowns would only contribute to more human rights violations. Callamard also claimed that the Philippines has been acting beyond international law even before the COVID-19 pandemic.
Now, I'd like to restate the rule in international law. The use of force is not prohibited by the state, provided it is necessary and it is proportional. And I think the kind of responses, the use of force that we have seen satisfy this criteria. If not, then the appropriate cases are filed, whether be it criminal or administrative, which is the duty of the state in case of an alleged violation of the right to life.
Roque questioned Callamard's credentials, saying she is not a specialist on the issue of extralegal killings, saying it would have been better if the UN appointed an actual expert on extralegal killings of the same caliber as former UN Special Rapporteur on extrajudicial executions, Philip Alston.
I know Professor Agnes, she's not a specialist on extralegal killing. She's a specialist on freedom of expression. I wish Agnes good luck. I wish she could get tenure in her university so that she can actually be recognized as an expert.
The Senate unanimously approved on third and final reading a bill that gives the President the authority to adjust the opening of classes during a state of calamity. Senate Bill 1541 seeks to amend Section 3 of Republic Act 7797, or an act to lengthen the school calendar from the 200 days to not more than 220 class days. Once enacted into law, the measure authorizes the President to set a different date for the start of the school year under a state of emergency, calamity, or similar occurrence. Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, who co-author and sponsor the bill, thanked his colleagues for recognizing the urgency of the proposed measure. Meanwhile, the Commission on Higher Education has instructed private higher education institutions to review their application for tuition adjustment or increase, as physical classes would not be allowed in the coming school year.
So sinoli natin yung application sa kanila. Ang utos ng komisyon, i-review yung application nila in the light of flexible learning. At magkonsulta ulit sa mga magulang at sa mga estudyante at ipaliwanag yung application ng tuition sa konteksto ng flexible learning. Pinagbabawalan natin ang mga internship, mga OJT, hanggang merong quarantine, hindi pwedeng gawin. So meron mga activities na ganyan, yung mga sports activities na malakihan, malamang hindi magagawa yan hanggang ngayong 2020 dahil sa prohibition sa mass gathering.
Still to come, the Department of the Interior and Local Government said the government's contact tracing capability has now improved to 96%. And 13 more rebels surrendered in South Cotabato. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Galing ko lang ng grocery. Siyempre, hindi ko hahayaan na pumasok ang COVID-19 sa bahay at mapahamak ang pamilya ko. Kaya iiwan ko ang sapatos ko sa labas. At ngayon, maghuhugas ako ng kamay ng 20 seconds. O ayan, wala na ang virus. Tandaan, buhay ng pamilya natin na nakasalalay. Let's heal as one.
Alam niyo ba na pumapasok ang COVID-19 sa ating katawan sa pamamagitan ng mata, ilong at bibig? Kaya lagi kaming conscious dito sa bahay kapag umuubo kami. Lagi kami naghuhugas ng kamay in 20 seconds. Pag lumalabas kami, lagi namin suot ang mask. Lagi lang natin tatandaan mga mamshi. Buhay ng pamilya natin ang nakasalalay dito. Let's heal as one.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The AFP readies its troops for redeployment amid the easing of quarantine rules. And 1,000 unqualified pensioners are cracked down by the PNP. More on these from Rom Dulfo.
The AFP said it is ready to redeploy its personnel following the easing of quarantine restrictions in Metro Manila and some parts of the country. AFP spokesperson Marine Brigadier General Edgar Arevalo said these deployments will be done together with the Philippine National Police and in coordination with the local government units. On Monday, the AFP has dispatched 6 vehicles in Batasan and Philcoa area in Quezon City and 11 vehicles in other areas determined by the MMDA. Arevalo said 48 military vehicles are on standby and are ready for dispatch in areas to be determined by the MMDA. Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police has ordered a crackdown on over 1,000 unqualified pensioners who are fraudulently stealing from its pension fund. PNP Chief General Archie Gamboa on Monday said they have already identified them in the nationwide accounting and will immediately purge them on the list. Gamboa said the PNP will exhaust all legal means to recover lost pension funds paid to ineligible claimants. In other news, the Philippine Army on Monday relaunched its revitalized YouTube channel that features stories and experiences of the soldiers in the midst of the pandemic. Along with the channel's relaunch, the Army also released a documentary on their COVID-19 operations, which was created by director Enzo Williams. Philippine Army Commander Lieutenant General Gilbert Gapay said despite a new normal, the Army continues its sworn duty not only to serve people, but also to inform, educate, and disseminate information. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. DILG Secretary Eduardo Año said the government's contact tracing capability for COVID-19 patients has now improved to 96%. However, Metro Manila's contact tracing ability remains at 76% or 20% lower than the national average. Año attributed this decline to the government's observance of data privacy laws. He said LGUs may still require quarantine passes in high-risk barangays known as critical zones and buffer zones that they are monitoring and doing contact tracing activities.
So, pero sa ngayon po ay malaking improvement yung ating contact tracing at in fact, because of contact tracing ay nag-improve yung ating sitwasyon.
The lower house has approved a proposed 1.3 trillion peso stimulus package that would help the country recover from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. More on this from Marita Moahe.
The House of Representatives on Monday night approved on second reading a proposed 1.3 trillion economic stimulus package to propel the country's growth in the aftermath of the COVID-19 crisis. House Bill 6815, or the Accelerated Recovery and Investment Stimulus for the Economy, seeks to mandate immediate mass testing for COVID-19 and an enhanced Build program. It will fund wage subsidies, cash for work programs, educational subsidies, and loan programs for micro, small, and medium enterprises. The bill also provides sectoral interventions for tourism, transportation, manufacturing, and agriculture, among others. A proposed measure seeking to make COVID-19 testing more accessible to vulnerable members of society is also inching its way into becoming law at the House of Representatives. The lower chamber approved on second reading House Bill 6568, or the Crush COVID-19 Act, which encouraged a baseline PCR testing to intercept COVID-19 transmission. The vulnerable member of society include health workers and other frontliners, those returning to work with comorbidities, and persons entering the country from abroad. Iloilo Representative Janet Garin, the author of the bill, stressed the need to detect and manage COVID-19, especially in asymptomatic carriers, as the country gradually enters the new normal with the easing of COVID-19 restrictions. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muaje.
In our business news, German companies have called for the resumption of negotiations for European Union Philippines Free Trade Agreement. In a survey by the German Philippines Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Singapore German Chamber of Industry and Commerce, 83% of German firms in the country consider the resumption of the EU-PH FTA talks as very important to their businesses. GPCCI President Tristan Arwen Lavera said the results show the huge potential for the Philippine-German and Philippine-European economic relations. The surveyed firms said the EU-PH FTA can address their challenges on trade, investments, and competitiveness in the Philippine market. Bilateral trade between the Philippines and Germany in 2019 reached 6.3 billion euros, while Germany's investment net inflows here posted at 218 million euros in 2018. The Philippines and EU launched the FTA talks in December 2015 and have done 2 rounds of negotiations in May 2016 and February 2017. The provincial government of Albay has set aside 5 million pesos to bring back some 2,000 residents stranded while under quarantine. More on this and other news from provinces from Janice Cabe.
Albay has set aside a 5 million peso fund for its Libreng Sakay para sa locally stranded Albayanos program to bring back some 2,000 residents stranded during the enhanced community quarantine in Metro Manila. The Libreng Sakay program will be implemented on Friday, June 5, where 10 passenger buses will pick up locally stranded individuals in the NCR at 2 trips per week. The designated pickup points are the Araneta Center in Cubao, Baclaran Church in Parañaque, and Turbina in Santo Tomas, Batangas. In Cebu, the Mactan Cebu International Airport is ready to resume operations as safety measures are in place at Terminals 1 and 2. The Mactan Cebu International Airport Authority and the private management have modified the operating environment to adapt to the so-called new normal in travel. The airport has set up a COVID-19 testing laboratory for passengers and returning overseas Filipino workers and outbound international passengers. Other safety measures include posters reminding passengers to always wear face masks, visual markers for physical distancing, stickers for chairs with distanced sitting arrangements, and other protocols. Meanwhile, 13 more New People's Army rebels surrendered and gave up several high-powered firearms to authorities in South Cotabato. The rebels decided to yield on Saturday in Tantangan town and take part in the government's reintegration program. Police said the group was part of an NPA unit under the Guerrilla Front 73 that operates in the boundaries of Coronadal City and the municipalities of Banga, Norala, and Tantangan. The rebels' movements have reportedly become limited in the past months due to the internal security operations conducted by the South Cotabato Police. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Up next, Solicitor General Jose Calida said he is not at loggerheads with Congress regarding the controversial franchise renewal issue of ABS-CBN. And Manila's very first vertical housing project will soon rise in Tondo. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Mga mommies, pagdating sa COVID-19, dapat hindi tayo kampante. Bagamat hindi nakikita ang sakit na ito ay nakamamatay. At hanggang ngayon wala pa rin lunas. Kaya protektahan natin ang ating pamilya. Laging maghugas ng kamay, huwag hahawakan ng mukha, at manatili sa bahay para makaiwas sa sakit na ito. Tandaan, buhay ng pamilya natin ang nakasalalay dito. Let's heal this one.
Hi, Caps! Kamusta?
Well, ito dahil sa COVID-19, medyo stress.
Okay lang yan, Caps. Napagdaanan ko din yan.
Ano kaya pwede natin gawin, no?
Kung nararamdaman mo na gulong-gulo ka na sa mga naririnig mo, sa mga nababasa mo, mag-pause ka muna, saka ka huminga ng malalim.
Buti na lang tumawag ka. Iba talaga pag may nangangamusta.
A strong body starts with a strong mind.
Tama. Let's heal as one.
Tandaan ang tamang paraan ng paghuhugas at paglilinis ng kamay upang makaiwas sa iba't ibang karamdaman. Basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Unang sabunin ang mga palad at ang likod ng mga kamay. Kuskusin na maigi ang pagitan ng mga daliri at maging ang mga kuko. Isunod ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki at kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. Banlawang mabuti ang mga kamay sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Solicitor General Jose Calida emphasizes that he is not at odds with Congress regarding the controversial franchise renewal issue of broadcast network ABS-CBN. Calida answered accusations of meddling with Congress when he advised the National Telecommunications Commission not to grant ABS-CBN provisional authority to broadcast despite its expired franchise. He explained he only cautioned the NTC of its possible encroachment on the legislative power if it issues a provisional authority without a law. Calida, however, maintained that he could not answer any question during the House hearings regarding any matters pending before the Supreme Court. On May 5, the NTC issued a cease and desist order against ABS-CBN despite its earlier commitment to grant provisional authority to operate while its franchise application is pending in Congress. ABS-CBN is facing before the SC the co-warranto petition filed by Calida and the petition certiorari and prohibition against NTC. The Department of Tourism, or DOT, seeks to help more tourism enterprises across the country in digitizing their operations to minimize the spread of COVID-19 as well as to keep the business running. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat welcomed the widespread use of digital new technology. She noted that e-commerce could be the key for the tourism industry's recovery after suffering major losses during the national health crisis. Puyat said that stakeholders must look for new ways to promote their businesses. The Tourism Department earlier launched the online leg of Philippine Harvest Trade Fair last April 22nd. The online fair aimed to continue promoting and giving access to fresh produce and local food products from micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises and farmers amid the ongoing global health scare. Eligible senior citizens in Dumaguete City have begun receiving 3,000 pesos each from the DSWD Regional Office in Central Visayas. The payout for eligible seniors was scheduled from Monday to Thursday in clusters of barangays as announced by the Office of Senior Citizens Affairs. Last May 29, senior citizens in Bagakay, Bajumpandan, and Balugo received their social pensions. The financial assistance downloaded from the DSWD-7 and distributed via the City Social Welfare and Development Office represents the first semester or from January to June this year. Mayor Felipe Antonio Remolyo allowed the payout provided that proper protocols are followed by barangay officials, CSWDO and OSCA personnel, such as the wearing of face masks and observing safe physical distancing. He said the social pension for senior citizens who could not be physically present at the designated venues shall be delivered to their homes. In our foreign news, several UN agencies on Monday demanded permanent closure of compulsory drug detention and rehabilitation centers in Asia and the Pacific. In a joint statement, 16 UN entities said member states in the region should implement voluntary evidence-informed and rights-based services in the community to curb the spread of COVID-19. They said among the groups particularly at risk of contracting the virus are people in compulsory drug detention and rehabilitation centers. The UN experts asked the countries in the region to facilitate the recovery and reintegration of those in the centers back to their families and communities. They expressed concern that people there may have been detained for treatment or rehab without sufficient due process. They claim that they may be experiencing substandard living conditions, including forced labor, lack of adequate nutrition, physical and sexual violence, and denial or poor access to health care. To solve Manila's homelessness and informal settlement issues, the city government is launching its first in-city vertical housing project called Tondominium. Mayor Francisco Dumaguete led on Monday the groundbreaking of Tondominium 1 and 2 in Vitas Tondo, a project under the Build Manila program. Dumaguete took pride in the Tondominium projects worth nearly 1 billion pesos each, noting that he himself understood the feeling of living in an informal settlement. Tondominium 1 and 2, with 15 floors each, are expected to be finished in 2 years and will be able to accommodate around 336 families. Other construction projects will follow under the Build Manila project like the Binondominium 1 and 2, Bagong Ospital ng Maynila, Bagong Manila Zoo, and the Vitas Slaughterhouse. Dumaguete said all of these projects are part of his vision to uplift the standard of living in the city of Manila. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. Presidential spokesperson Roque said the now lifted ECQ worked in containing COVID-19 infection. The Department of the Interior and Local Government said the government's contact tracing capability has now improved to 96%. Solicitor General Jose Calida said he is not at loggerheads with Congress regarding the controversial franchise renewal issue of ABS-CBN. And Manila's very first vertical housing project will soon rise in Tondo. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out more news content, check our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day, stay safe.